welcome back. I am getting ready to create a mini album. It is just going to be a 4x6 with a 2.5-inch spine or so. There's another panel around here somewhere. It's like so, with only 4 pages in it. And to kind of cheat my process, these are 4x6 canvas panels that I had got at a dollar store. So I didn't have to cut that down, and they're chipboard, so they're pretty sturdy. And then this is just a scrap piece of chipboard I had that I'm going to use for my spine. It's already cut down. I'm going to be using the scrapbooking kit, the mixed media kit. I don't know for sure about the cards, tags, and more kit yet. Not certain at all. In the slightest, I am not certain. I am going to just go over really fast the scrapbooking kit. It has the Tranquility line from 49 Market in it, the 12x12 collection pack, the laser cut elements, and the chipboard elements, a couple of Tres Jolie chipboard pieces, a few packs of flowers, and a couple of doilies. I think that's it. Everything's kind of a hot mess over here right now. And then the mixed media kit had the rice paper and mediums and gesso. And the cards, tags, and more kit had that Garden of Promises. It had the Garden of Promises 6x6 and chipboard and Tres Jolie chipboard and some flowers and a little thing of ink. Oh, and the mixed media kit had the stencil. All right, little quickie overview right there. So I already started. Oh, and the scrapbooking kit, that's what I knew was missing. Had this little extra bit in there. I have already worked out more or less the start of my cover. I think that's my theory. This sheet right here, and I cut off about 6 inches, might be 7 inches off. 6.5. Yeah, it's about 6.5 inches. Probably only needed 6, but I'm not going to even say how many times that I thought I had cut something wide enough and then it didn't quite wrap the way I had hoped. So I have learned to add just a little bit extra. I am going to create this seam. I'm going to create my seam, my paper seam, where the center of the spine will be, like that, so that this wraps, connects at the spine, and then this will go like that. Have I lost you yet? Is everybody as confused as I am? So that being said, I'm going to join these at my center, because that's what I got to do. I'm going to kind of finagle a little bit if I can, trying to keep in mind that an inch or so will be getting wrapped around the edges. So that's what that's going to be, because all of these added together with, and I just added a 1/4 inch spacing for my hinges and an inch extra for wrap on each side, is 17 inches. But after I have everything put together, then I'll kind of square things up. Now, for the rice paper, I'm going to be layering it up on top of the 49 Market paper, but I'm going to cut it the rice paper way. I don't want straight edges anyhow. I kind of want a feathery edge. And rice paper, being so fine and everything like that, the easiest way to tear your rice paper, to create your tears where you want it, is do not add water in the wrong spot. Anyways, I'm going to outline with just some water where I want my tears to be, and then tear big flour. I'm not sure how much yet, but I'm going to prepare my rice paper. To do the initial adhesion between the rice paper and the 49 and market paper, I am just going to give a light coating of some soft matte gel. It is transparent. It remains flexible when it's dry. And that's just to make sure I have some good adhesion. That's the plan, is to have some good adhesion. And I think I will actually just start with adding it to the 49 market paper, and then slowly and carefully working my rice paper into place. Since, this is my center line, I am just going to continue working my way around here and adding my rice paper. Before I do that, I need to rough up these edges. My strip is collaged, and just to give it extra protection to make sure it doesn't stick, because this will need a top sealer like most gel things do. Even when they're dry, they can feel tacky, and also just for some extra protection. So I just laid out some parchment paper. It won't stick to it, and it was clean, and so here we are. I marked the center of my spine, and I'm going to work from the spine out, and I'm just going to show real quick. So when it folds, it will be something like so on the front, and something like so on the back. I had put a piece of double-sided tape between my two paper halves just to help hold them in place while I worked on the rice paper. Peel that up real quick, and probably just eyeball center ish. Maybe I'll just use this. Yeah, that's good there. I'm just lining the my center line with my seam, since, well, that's the center. And I think just for this That was not a well thought out plan, now was it? I'm gonna use double-sided tape on my entire spine because it has the seam in it. As soon as I figure out how to undo what I just did. There we go. I think that'll work. Okay, with that spine in place, I can lay down my panels. I'm just going to use this little 1/4 inch fiberglass rod here as my spacer so the hinges work. My panels are glued into place, and after they had dried and after the soft matte gel had dried, I just came in and gave everything a coat of just some matte varnish just to seal up that gel and, you know, add a little bit more stability, structure, protection. Anyways, it's got a nice smooth surface on it now. And then I just trimmed down my edges so that they're 1 inch or so all the way around. And now just to taper my corners so I can fold them up. And then I will come through, add some double-sided tape to all of the edges and get things folded over. I cut these at 45-degree angles because I didn't want overlap. I'm going to use one of the doilies and create little corner protector thingies. So I'll have the doily wrap around and come together on the corners on the inside of the covers. If you weren't going to put corner protectors on, you would want to cut less than 45-degree angles because you wouldn't necessarily want those gaps under your inside papers, end papers. So that's why I did that. And then I cut these at about 30 degrees on each. And that was just to keep the hinge area cleaned out of the bulk. So for my hinge area, this is just some 1 1/4 inch linen hinging tape, and I will use that to seal up those hinges. But before that, I want to strengthen this up a little bit. So I'm just going to add some varnish. Hinges reinforced, and I was thinking Maybe adding the pink doily also. I'm not quite sure. Maybe a little extra. We'll see. I think that would actually be kind of nice, little pink sticking out on whichever paper it is I decide to use on the inside. Just going to try to cut this as evenly as possible, at least so that my four corners will have basically the same roughly edge showing. All right, my corners are dry and in place. I cut the second doily in half after that varnish had dried, and I've prepared my end papers and the center where the pages will be going. So my measurements are for my end papers, for both of them. They are 3 3/4 inches high and 5 3/4 inches wide. And then my centerpiece, my spine cover and page holder, I guess we can call it a page holder. I don't know. It's 3 3/4 inches high, the same as the end papers, but I cut it 6.5 inches long, and then I scored every half inch so that it would fold up like so. And because I love making sure things are reinforced on the hingy parts, these top folds don't need it. They are just going to be inside the page because they're going to be like pocket pages. But the parts that would get the most movement from pages flipping, I did reinforce on the back side with some linen hinging tape just across all of those. I have a piece of double-sided tape in here right now. I'm gonna really want to make sure that I have a good seal here, but before I put my end papers on, I think I figured out how I want to do my closure. I have these D-rings. I think these are called D-rings, pretty sure. Anyways, I have them, and I have some shorter what are they called, slotted head screws. They're like the posts that are in post-bound albums, just shorter. So that's what's in post-bound albums, is slotted head screws. And I was thinking, now I haven't decided if I want an outside hinge like that or an inside with just a little silver dot. And I think I like this better just because it doesn't like stick out like that. I do like the mix of, hardware and flowery frilly things. So that's what that's all about. And then I just have some sheer ribbon in a greenish color, olive greenish kind of. It matches. That will be just tied on at some point in time. I'm gonna mark my centers, punch my holes, and pop these in and reinforce them some way. I mean, not reinforce them, but add extra adhesion. Now the other question is, do I want my little screw on top, or do I want it hidden with just like this, or like this, Alrighty, so that's what we're gonna do. Easy peasy to decide there. my latches are in. I used some 3D matte gel to help hold them to the cover, just so they wouldn't spin under the paper from just being used, tied and untied. And then I used some thread locker for the screws because, well, I did. I probably didn't need it since everything's covered, but I did anyhow. I have my end papers and doilies glued into place. I just used soft matte gel. Not any particular reason other than it's what I had open. I decided to use the soft matte gel to hold the paper across the screws. And well, since it was there, I used it to glue everything down. I used it on the back side of the doily halves to glue it to the background papers. And I used it here. And well, by that point in time, I just figured I'd just brush it on and make sure that these end papers were sealed good down here. I have everything pushed into place, and I'm going to let this dry fully before trying to continue on with it. And then I put this together. I just put some glue in all of the folds and added a lot of clips. And that is because with the folds, there's going to be a little bit of overhang on these two edges. So I wanted to get it folded up so I'd be able to place it properly in the center and then know exactly what needs to be shaved off. So I'm letting that dry, and I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to let this dry some, and then just come back and glue this in. And I'm thinking that I'll probably use actually 3D matte gel because it has a really good hold. I'm thinking just for this base construction, I'm really going to make sure that I have solid connections everywhere. My cover is dry and my page holders are in place. And I'm just going to set it off to the side now and work on the pages for it. So what I have done is I've kind of worked ahead, mostly so I'd know what I was talking about. I am just making little sleeves. They will, flip like so. So, there may be some upside down butterflies or whatnot, but it still works, I think. They will have pull-outs as well. I've done two. Well, I've done all of the pull-outs, so I will go over those. I have 4 rectangles for the pull-out mats that are 5 1/4 inches by 3 11/16, and I just shaved off the 1/16 of an inch just to make sure they would go in without rubbing up and down along the sides, since this overall size is 3 3/4, so this is 3 11/16 of an inch. All right. They're the same width right now, but that is because once the sleeves are added to the spine, then there's that 1/2 inch or so sticking up, which will stick those up. So when they're in there, they will stick out about 1/2 inch from the top of the sleeve and then fit into the cover. Now, to talk about my sleeves. I haven't done these two. I haven't folded them up, I should say. I have just cut them down to size. This one, obviously from the 49 Market Tranquility collection. And then this was that extra 6x8 sheet. The 8 inches is fine. My album sleeves are 8 inches by 5¼ inches. You know, pick what you're going to want to show, take into consideration folds and what have you, and cut out 4 pieces that are 8 by 5¼ to also help make sure that these slide in and out well, especially if they get photos put on them, little pull out photo things. I folded them with just a little bit of a space, a little bit of curve. Yeah, freeze frame. So that it'll give me long enough to talk about the little curve. I made little curves. It's about a 1/16 of an inch gap around both of those curves just to make sure that there was going to be space. The pockets wouldn't be too tight. After I had worked out, after this was my just piece of craft that I used to work out my measurements. After I'd worked all that out, then I figured out, or then I just made light marks about where those curves will be, the little curves, because they're only about a 1/16 of an inch, and my scoreboard is 1/8 of an inch. But I happen to have this Fiskars metal ruler, and it came in very handy because it has rounded edges and it's about a 1/16 of an inch wide, and it actually helps me shape those after I get some initial score lines in. So the precise-ish scores go at, if you put one around 3 7/8, and then just move it over. If you have, you know, the 1/8 inch score lines, then all I did is just center it on one of the bumps. Center that score line I just made, visually centered it, just so that I could make a second score line that was approximately that 1/16 of an inch wide, and make sure it stayed straight. Now I'm not making a deep score line because it's going to be wrapped around. And then just to get a little flat, little edge just to fold over to seal up that sleeve. Score again at, now I have it pushed back in the corner again now. So then my next score line is about 7 3/4. When I make these score lines, I put my first one in, and my second one was to the right, and the same for the second score line. I just moved half a tick or so and made my second score line to the right of the first one. And then this is what I did just to help me shape them, because this had a nice rounded edge to it. I just folded it around here at those score lines. Kind of pushed it around with my bone folder, just like so. And that's what gives me that nice little curve in there, just enough space to make sure that those mats will slide in and out, and if there's a photo on it, they will still fit in there and not make the pockets too tight. All right, now it's just for the decorating part. Oh, the quicker part. That's the theory, the quicker part. Now that my sleeves are done and my inserts are cut, and then I just went back through all of the papers that I had already cut into to create the bases everywhere, and picked the sides of them that were a little more muted, a little more neutral in color, just to use as photo mats. I will just randomly decide where a mat might need to go, how I may want it on there. I may cut them down with some of these larger prints, depending on, basically depending on what's really showing, seeing which colors go where. But my mats are 3.5 by 3.5 inches to start. I'm just going to say to start because I may cut into them and alter them a little bit. These I have set aside on purpose. As you can see, I mixed up the frames and the rectangles with the phrases on them. And I'm setting those aside on purpose. Those I am planning on adding to one side or other of the pullout. Probably going to stick to the chipboard and the laser cut elements. Probably going to. There's more than enough here. I have finally made it to the final assembly process. You saw, the quickie run through. Just a lot of gluing things down and adding various bits of ephemera just to decorate. Some of these I tried to make a little bit tucky-in-ish. These are just 3-inch circle die. I used Spellbinders, just the Spellbinders round dies. And I left this just so it can kind of maybe be tucked in there a little bit. That's just decoration. Depending on what pattern and image was on the sleeve, really determined whether I made a circle mat or just left the large square mat. This is still tuck underable. I think the butterfly's tuck underable too, but being a butterfly, it's a little stiffer. That edge, tuck underable. Over here, that butterfly is able to be tucked under that wing. I left this chipboard piece loose over the mat, and just that edge there of that pink chipboard piece to help raise my mats and, get things level, because there are those chipboard pieces on there. I just cut scraps of foam. Wherever I was adhering foam, I used my Fabri-Tac. Otherwise, I just used art glitter glue for any paper to paper. I have my pull-out mats ready. I decorated the top ½ inch or so of them, just so when they go in, that little bit will be reinforced. It'll kind of catch, even though they weren't going to fall in anyhow, but still. And you can quite easily tell that they are made to slide in and out. And then for my cover, this I decided to add to the back cover as maybe a place just to write a few notes. It's just one of them little cards from the cover sheet, just the blue card from this cover sheet from the collection pack. The One Fine Day was cut out of the cover sheet from the Laser Cut Elements pack, and I just wanted to just give a little something extra to this little journaling area. Stuck on a little chipboard heart, and I think that I'll just call that good for the back cover. This was also cut from the Laser Cut Elements cut apart side of the sheet, cover sheet. And I liked it to use as a date tag. Then whichever photos are put in here, since it's a small album, it would work really good for a an event, maybe a birthday, an anniversary, special day. So you can just have a single date tag up front to mark that. You know what? Maybe the One Fine Day. You know, the One Fine Day, the calendar, the little butterfly here, and this tag were cut from one of the cut apart sheets. I actually think that the One Fine Day might have came also paper pack, elements. I think they came from somewhere, and I cut them out. Anyhow, I just liked them, so I'm adding them. And I don't want this raised up over here necessarily, so I'm just going to, I don't even think I need a full half. So I'm going to cut a little under half, cut that circle a little under halfway, just so that I can put the edge directly against it or against the date tag. I'm just going to use the Fabri-Tac since part of this does go across that doily that has that varnish on it. I just cut my ribbon in half, knotted it onto my D-rings, and knotted the other end, and then just still added some fray check to the cut ends. Nothing fancy there. I have added some double-sided tape. It's a 3/8 inch double-sided tape. I kept it even with the top. I don't want my pages snug or flat against the spine, so I just cut a couple little scrap strips of chipboard, and actually I think I might peel off a layer. I'll measure it and I'll let you know about how thick they are. About a 1/16 of an inch. Just a little bit of space to allow some easier flipping so that it's not hitting the edges. And I'm just going to slide them in on each side. That way I can also make sure that it's going to go on straight. All right, so I'm just going to add Smart Glitter Glue along the top edge, because it'll just get, you know, kind of pushed down along the way. Top edge, and just some at the very top here, and that's just to make sure that any sticky edge of that double-sided tape will be coated. Just a precaution. And then with my spacers in place, all I have to do is slide the sleeve on. I just clipped it in place. Once I had it slid down where I wanted it, I clipped the edges in place to hold it so I could remove the chipboard spacers and then make sure that everything was stuck down good. And that is really all there is to it. I don't even think I need to leave those on. And page 1. Rinse and repeat 3 more times. With all of my pages in place, I am going to pop on a bit of just this vine. I'm going to be cutting it up, adding some flowers. I waited to add the dimensional flowers until the end just to make sure of my spacing. I didn't want to get overexcited and add too much bulk before they were in. Not like that would be something that I would do ever. All right, and with the addition of those flowers, my mini album is complete. I have a space to mark a date. Some of my photo mats are round, some are square. I have a spot on the back here just for some journaling. Each page is a sleeve page, and each one has a little pull-out mat. You could use it for more photos or more journaling. Lots of places in this mini album to add your photos. It's a nice little album to commemorate a special event. And then just a simple bit of ribbon on some D-rings for a tie closure. I hope you enjoyed this project and it gave you some ideas of what you can do using the 49 and Market papers, laser cut elements, and chipboard, as well as the flowers and the doilies. And then that rice paper that is in the mixed media kit makes a beautiful collage layer. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up and feel free to share this video. Thank you, and I will see you again next week.